Alrighty, so I think we're good to get started now that we have some people joining us. So welcome. This for those of you who hopefully are in the right spot. This is the dance information session for HWS. So thanks for coming via Zoom. So before we get started, I would like to ask everybody to please keep their microphones on mute, just to limit extra noise during the call. And throughout the session, if you have any questions, there's a little chat feature at the bottom of Zoom that you can use, and we'll get to those later in the session. So a bit about me. My name is Sophie Kaufman, and I'm a senior at HWS from Ridgefield, Connecticut. I am a double major in dance theory and performance study and educational studies. And I'm also going to be receiving my teaching certification in elementary and special ed, and I'm really excited about that. I'll also be staying here next year for the Masters of Arts in Teaching program. So if you attend HWS, you may be seeing me still around campus. So some of the highlights, some things that I've done on campus over the course of my 4 years have been serving as co-president of the Koshari Dance Collective, which is our largest club on campus, student-run dance collective. I also studied abroad in Galway, Ireland during the spring of 2018. So that was a really wonderful experience, and I recommend studying abroad to anybody who attends HWS or any school. I am also a major ambassador for both of my majors, so education and dance, and I am a member of the Laurel Society, which is one of William Smith's honor societies. So I'm really grateful to be a part of all those things, and they've been really formative in my HWS experience. So joining me today, I have Professor of Dance, Donna Davenport. So the first question I have for Donna is, can you tell us a little bit about your own background and any research projects you've been working on?
So hello, everybody. And before I answer that question, I just want to let you all know that every spring, I love meeting you all and sitting in my office talking with parents, and there's often a sibling there, and I love it. And I'm actually kind of sad. I mean, this is great, we're Zooming, but it's a part of the spring that I really appreciate. And what's cool is that in the fall I often see people that I remember meeting. And so that's fun. And admissions is really active in the spring, and we have all these open houses and we meet all these people, and they fall in love with the campus. And so being there, so I'm a little sad, I'm glad I'm here, but I'm a little sad because being there is, it's just really important. So we will do our best to somehow translate that experience here. So that's what I have in mind, because I really love meeting you all in person. But I am a performer, a dance performer, and I am a choreographer. Those are my major identities, and I have colleagues who are like that as well. So we have a dance department that is founded on the ideas of performance and choreography. But because it's not a conservatory and we're at a liberal arts college, we of course have all these other things that we do as well. So I have a doctor of education, and there are people who be like, wow, how do you write your dissertation? What do you stand up and So yeah, I wrote an actual written, a document, just like everybody else. And I focused on the education, the pedagogy of movement. And let's see, I guess I would be, my identities are an artist and a scholar. So I write as well as choreograph and perform. And one of the things, so I'm involved, I guess there are 3 things that I'll say that I'm involved in right now. So actually just like 5 minutes ago, I was editing a choreography book. There's a choreographer, a professional choreographer from Europe, Vladimir Angelov, who is the head of this Icons choreography incorporation in Washington, and he's writing this very large book on choreography. And so I'm serving as a content editor. I'm also involved in this thing that's called the Artists, a Coalition for Change Together. This is an organization I work with the director of the Nazareth dance program, as well as a faculty member at the University of Rochester in the dance program there. And we have formed this organization, and we work with all kinds of artists, so that's the interdisciplinary aspect of that. Another thing and we put on concerts and productions and stuff like that. The other thing I'm working on is I'm writing a book on mindfulness, the mindful body, because one of the things I've done is I have now a certification in yoga. And so in addition to social justice work with the Artists, the Coalition, and my choreography and performance, I'm also really interested in this idea of mindfulness and how it helps students. And so the mindful body, this book I'm working on right now, is actually for college students. And from what I've learned from college students, I am invested in this process now. So that's as short an answer as I can muster up.
No, that was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. So the next question I have for you would be, so I've been really lucky to partake in the faculty dance concert and the junior senior dance concert and Koshari and our many different concerts we have in the dance department. And I've even choreographed my own work for junior senior and Koshari. So those have been really wonderful opportunities for me. So can you explain a bit more about the ways in which students and faculty collaborate in the dance department?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So again, I usually this talking head, and usually I'm present with you all, but I would say there are two really important ways that we collaborate. So one would be in choreography. So that is in fact how Sophie and I got to know each other well. I learned when she was a sophomore that she would make a wonderful rehearsal assistant and teaching assistant in an ensemble that I was working on. So we were collaborating. I was collaborating with all of the students in making this new work, but I was also collaborating with her as a rehearsal assistant and a teaching assistant of these students that ranged in age from first years to people who are actually older than she. So that in choreography and performance, there's a lot of collaboration. I'd say the other thing, and maybe this is less obvious, but you'll get an idea of how we think. We end up doing a lot of collaboration and helping each student move through the major in their own individual way. So we work truly individually with students to help them form their own identity. You can dance, you can be a dancer, and then how you decide to integrate your dancing identity and your dancing and your interest in dance theory and history and all that with your other majors or minors is something that we all help the students do. That ends up being, we call it advising, but I like to think of it as more of a collaboration and more as like teamwork as we sort of help students mold and develop an identity.
Yeah, so to add to that, I'd also say on our major forms, there's a little section that is for electives, which is really wonderful if you're going towards a more interdisciplinary track. So as I said before, my majors are education and dance, but I also have friends who are psychology majors and dance majors, sociology major and dance major. So there are lots of different ways that different fields can kind of interconnect with one another, and you learn that through the dance curriculum. So that's excellent.
That's actually a good little segue into the next question.
It sure is. So, as I mentioned, I chose to major in dance, but I also have friends who just simply wanted to continue dance while pursuing other studies. Can you explain the options that students have and the different tracks, I guess, within the dance majors that might appeal to certain students?
Right. Yeah. So I would imagine that the people out there that you all are thinking, I'm interested in a liberal arts college because I don't want to major in dance. I just want to dance. And that's how most people come in, and we welcome you all, and we're like, that's great. You know, you don't have to like want to major in dance when you're 18 or think that that's why, because probably if you did, you would go to a conservatory, right? So you all, I would imagine, are interested in lots of other things, and so are we as faculty, right? But what ends up happening is people decide they would like to sort of integrate their interest in dance into other things, right? So that they might end up being a psychology major and a dance major, or an education major and a dance major like Sophie, or a sociology major and a dance major, a writing and rhetoric major. And so there are all these things. Most things, when you think about the experience of human beings moving or expressing themselves in art, if you think about that, it has a lot of ramifications and possible intersections with, like, I don't know, tons of majors, right? So this is the thing that students often discover in, say, for you, Sophie, it happened a little bit earlier, but for most, it happens like their sophomore year, where they realize that, oh, I can be a dance major and an international relations major, and I can find a bit of overlap. So we do have three interdisciplinary tracks. And when we talk about interdisciplinarity, to make it a sort of nuts and bolts thing right now, right? You could say there are three courses in each of these tracks that can be from outside of the dance department. So we have an interdisciplinary major in dance education. We have an interdisciplinary major in movement as studies, which includes more like anatomical and kinesiological kinds of sort of health sciences look at movement, as well as a performance theory interdisciplinary major. And then we also have a disciplinary major, but that is more like a conservatory, in the sense of that all of the courses are in dance. We've actually have very few of those majors. Most of our majors are interdisciplinary, and that means that they can include these courses outside of dance and sort of link them. So the interdisciplinarity and that sort of the intersection happens naturally, but it also happens actually like technically in the major.
Yeah, so my major track is theory and performance studies, and I am really interested in actually learning as I move further into my career as an educator and a teacher, and working with elementary and special education students, that I'm really interested in incorporating movement into my classroom. So that is one way that I'm pulling my dance education from here, and I'm going to work with it, not necessarily in like the dance world, but in a different field that I'm also really passionate about. And so I'll be definitely using things that I've gained here to help me do that and benefit my students in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, so next question. So I mentioned in my little intro that I am pursuing my graduate degree next year, so my master's in teaching. But is that the trend? Thank you, Donna. Is that the trend for most dance majors, or Are there other things that you think students who you've worked with have gone to do after graduation?
Yeah, well, of course, the first thing that comes to my mind are the numbers of students who have gone on and pursued some kind of graduate work in the field of dance. Of course, every professor at Hobart and William Smith loves to talk about the people in their departments who end up going to grad school. So we have a number of students who end up pursuing a Master of Fine Arts. It's usually an MFA, and they end up being professional dancers, or they end up teaching in higher education. They end up being a dance specialist in the schools. There's all kinds of careers in dance that they pursue. So that, that's number one. Of course, I'm very proud of that. The other thing that happens, I would say, just as often, and we're also very proud of that because it's a liberal arts college, right, is that people end up utilizing their dance education, being proud of their major, but not going into the dance field. We have just as many of those. So they may end up in education. I guess most often I would say it's education or wellness and fitness. So they bring, knowledge of the body and human anatomy and kinesiology and somatic theory and movement analysis into an area of study. So physical therapy, athletic training, personal training, yoga, all chiropractic. So there's all, as you all know, the health and wellness / fitness field has just exploded. And I would imagine after this pandemic, it's going to be even bigger, right? And so a lot of our students end up heading into that field and being glad they spent 4 years truly developing a heightened awareness of personal expression, as well as the anatomy and kinesiology of human movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a senior dance major in our kind of capstone final senior seminar course, we are writing artist statements. And so that's that just makes, I think, us realize everything kind of that we have learned kind of the past 4 years that contributes to that artist.
Identity statement. So one is an artist statement, right? One is a somatic statement, and one is a teaching statement, right? So they're all these identities, right?
Yeah, they're all different. So there's a collection of them, but it gives us the chance, I think, to think about everything that we've taken from the different dance department courses, but then also if you're an interdisciplinary major, other courses that have contributed to that, to your dance knowledge and your dance major. So that's really great. And so my last question, actually, before I do this, if anybody kind of popped in later to the conversation, there's a chat feature at the bottom to pose any questions that you have, and we'll get to it after I ask Donna this last question. So feel free to pop a question in there. So my last question is a little bit off topic, so bear with me, Donna. Will you make an elevator pitch for the value of a liberal arts education in today's society?
Oh, it's so interesting. Of course, there's a big part of me that doesn't like the idea of the elevator pitch. But then I think about it and I go, well, yeah, like every time I speak to anybody about Hobart and William Smith and how valuable the education is, I'm in a sense, I'm doing that. And I used to say to people, I could never be a salesperson. And then I thought about it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I believe in this Hobart and William Smith liberal arts education. I mean, I really, really believe in it. And so it doesn't feel like a pitch to me. It feels like me really speaking from the heart and letting you know that, regardless of whether you major in dance or you do anything in dance, at a liberal arts college, I truly, truly believe the purpose of it is to educate the whole person, like every part of you. like who you are, who you would like to be, how you treat yourself, how you treat other people, how you think about ideas, how that evolves over time. So it's sort of how you are in the world. We think that's really, really important. So another thing is, I believe that as a result of the liberal arts education, that you develop all these thinking skills that tend to be more divergent and more towards being an inventor or being a creative thinker or problem solving, because you're not learning just one thing. And lo and behold, a lot of the employers out there in all kinds of corporations and fields, those are the people they're looking for. They like to hire people that can solve problems. And lo and behold, if you've had a liberal arts education, usually, you've had to know more than one thing well, right? You can't just focus on engineering. You can't just focus on dance. You've got to do a little of this and a little of that. And by the end of the 4 years, you know quite a few things well. And you've been forced, I guess, unfortunately maybe, to find connections among them. Like it's this whole integrative thinking thing. And that's why it's about the whole person. You're not just memorizing these facts. We're actually asking you to connect them. And then that ends up, you end up, being whole and connected and ready for all kinds of jobs. I mean, that's reality of the world these days, right? You need to apply to a bunch of different things. And so that would be my answer.
All righty, great answer. So thank you so much for answering those questions. And now is the segment where we get to the questions in the chat. So let's see here. Okay, so one question would be, what are some majors and minors that students have paired with dance? So as I mentioned, like myself, education.
Yeah. So psychology is very common, and education, other art forms. So they might be like architectural studies and dance, studio art, sociology. We've had women's studies, writing and rhetoric, international relations and political science, pretty popular, environmental studies, biology, because the students end up applying to PT, a physical therapy school. I guess those are the biggest ones. Yeah.
Great. And what are the dance facilities like?
Well, now, it took us 25 years, but now they're beautiful. We're in the Guerin Center for the Performing Arts. They're spacious, they're clean, sprung floors, lots of windows. We have a theater with seats 250 people comfortably, LED lights, beautiful lighting booth. We also have a studio up that's called Winsealy, which really is almost entirely used by students. So that used to be the department studio, and we've just turned it over to student use. So we have 3 large and beautiful studios that are used constantly. You can vouch for.
Quite literally, yes, I can. It's like a fight to sign up for space, yes. But yeah, the facilities are absolutely beautiful. I was really lucky because I came to HWS in 2016, the fall of 2016. So I think in that January, that was when the Guerin Center opened. And so I was really lucky to come into the school and have this brand new space to use. And I was just blown away when I took my first tour of the facilities. That was definitely a huge major plus for my decision. And it was, yeah, it just blew my mind. There's a huge costume closet in there that stores costumes from previously done performances. And it's like, it's kind of like a little wonderland in there. Yeah, it's a beautiful space. So we're really lucky to have that. And then have students completed choreography internships?
Oh, you're asking me. I thought you
I'm
were going to
asking you. Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
No, yeah, that was a question that one of the admissions. Yeah, we don't. No one's ever asked. So probably, they could, but the way that we work with internships is we start from the student's interest. So I've never had a student, because they can choreograph on campus, and then they can bring their choreography to the American College Dance Festival in the informal concert, or perform it in other places. And so it's never come up. The internships end up being more in the movement studies major, because they might shadow a physical therapist, or an acupuncturist, or yoga, or or something like that. So it's just never come up.
Mm-hmm. And then I would say for our last question, could you talk a bit about the American College Dance Association and how HWS can get involved?
Oh, yes. Well, the American College Dance Association used to be called the festival, is a part of the curriculum. So that means that it's a part of what we do in the department every single year. And we have been doing this, I wasn't even there then. It started actually, I think in the late 80s. Like it has always been a part of our program. And what it is a tour, essentially, and it's an adjudication. So as Sophie knows, it's you perform, students perform, but they also go and they take classes with master teachers and with faculty from all over the nation. So it's just it's 3 to 4 days, and it's a tour, in the sense of we all go, and there's always a performance that students do, and the faculty who bring the students also are involved, often as choreographers or as master teachers. We also watch the performances. There are many performances. One of the things I do in my scholarship is I review work. I'm commissioned to write about work, and so I'm often asked when I go to write about work that I've seen, if there are people who want feedback and a formal statement about their work.
Lovely, thank you. And it looks like we have one more question. So what is your typical day like as a dance major? So this one seems to be directed towards me. So
Yes.
as a dance major, I would say that I typically let's see, probably about one technique course, or I'm dancing every day, regardless of the exact courses I'm taking. So I'm dancing either in a technique course every day, in a faculty dance concert ensemble rehearsal, in a junior senior rehearsal, koshari rehearsal. Koshari happens in the fall semester, so that's when that would take place. But typically, I have other classes throughout the day. So when you come to HWS, you get to pick your own kind of schedule with your advisor. So you get to kind of pick and choose the course times and which courses you're going to take. But so typically I would be dancing every single day, which is really wonderful. And there are a lot of different opportunities to do so. if I'm not in a technique course, I am most likely taking a dance theory course, a history course, or even like a movement analysis, Laban movement analysis or somatics course. So the dance department courses don't necessarily just focus on dance technique like jazz, ballet. We even have West African dance forms being offered at the colleges by Professor Kelly Johnson. And so there are a lot of different ways to participate in the dance program, whether or not you're a dance major. But for me, it's dance technique and my history courses, Laban movement analysis, somatics, which is mind body focus, mind body connection. And so I would say that it's a pretty well balanced day, but it's really nice to be able to move throughout the day and take that break for my mind also from academic classes and writing papers and taking tests. So dance also serves as that outlet for me, and it has the past 4 years. So it's been really much needed thing for me. And so yeah, typically that is what I do during the day as a dance major. So let's see. That seems to be it for questions. Oh, never mind. One more. What is Koshari and can anyone join? So Koshari is the largest club at HWS, and it's a dance collective that is totally student run. So in the fall semester, any student at all can come to the Koshari auditions, which are open for anybody. So you come to the auditions and everybody gets cast in at least one piece. So there's nobody gets cut, nothing like that. And it's a huge club, and you become very close knit with the people you work with. And the Koshari board, we all put on a performance in November, typically the middle of November, and perform the pieces that we've kind of been working on all semester. And so the students, it's all student choreographed as well. So there's an audition also for choreography proposals. And so during the audition, the dancers audition, everybody comes into our big Deming theater, and you sit and you watch little snippets of potential pieces that are going to be put on stage for the concert. So, and then you sort of put your bid sheets in and you can pick and choose which pieces you're interested in. But we have dancers anywhere ranging from like beginning dancers, people who don't dance at all, to dancers who've trained for 13 years. So there's a piece for everybody, and it's a big community-wide event that's down at the Smith Opera House in Geneva. And professors come, family comes, community members come, they bring their children. And so it's a big community-wide event that has a professor, Donna Davenport, actually was the one who brought Koshari to the Smith. And so that has been a really wonderful venue to use for the concert because it's this gorgeous opera house downtown. And it's right in the center of Geneva.
1,200. It's because of the seats, that's why. So there's you can brag a little, as a former president, that between 800 and 900 people are there on both nights.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So massive audience, as Donna said, between 800 and 900 people. It's thrilling to step out on stage and be cheered on and hear your friends and family calling for you. And it's special. It's a really special event that happens every fall. And there are, I would say most students at HWS in general can say that Koshari was on their HWS bucket list, or they have been involved in it in some way. So it's a really fantastic thing to get involved in if you choose HWS, which we hope you do. So
I wish I could see everybody. This is so weird.
I know, it's definitely different to be doing
it is different
session on Zoom. But it's great that we get to answer questions and be there as support for you as you find your way.
So I wrote this up. I don't know if everybody can see it, but this is my name and my phone number. So feel free to call me and ask me anything, or if you're just not sure, and just, we can talk more. Okay.
Mhm.
Yay. Hi, everybody.
So I just want to send a big thank you to Donna for joining me today on this call, and to everybody else who chose to listen in. And I'm going to be dropping my email, my HWS email, in the chat box for everybody to see in case you have any more questions and would like to reach out to me. But I think we're all out of time for today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Bye, everybody.
Best of luck.